what pain they're doing, what pain they're in. Immediately, you can't help but feel, it takes away that anger, like, hey, you should treat me better or whatever. It's just like, oh, it's their thing.
Yeah.
Why should I actually add to my burden from their burden by reacting to that? So I don't carry their burden. I don't add their burden to mine then.
That's powerful. People need to hear that because they get very combative, I think. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, we're back, guys. We got Kamal Ravikant here today. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
I was going through your Twitter, and I noticed you're practicing some self-defense stuff right now. What's going on there?
It's actually more than self-defense. It's combat shooting.
Okay.
So I trained with a former SEAL Team 6 operator, Steve Sanders. The guy's a really legit, Silver Star, Bronze Stars, and SEAL Team 6 is about as, we would say, the best soldiers the United States produces,
Yeah.
So I would say the best soldiers in the world. And did a full career. And I started training with him a couple of years ago out here in Vegas. And first I thought it'd be kind of like fun. And what I quickly discovered was when you study something with a master, and the guy, if you think about it, is a modern day samurai who's literally been in the wars, has been against the worst of the worst, and has lived and come through it all, come back, hung up his sword, and now takes on students once in a while. And I lucked out and became one of his students.
Wow.
And I fell in love with it because it's a craft, it's an art. And you're learning from someone who had to do this it was his day job, his night job, and he had to use it to survive and to take out some very, very bad people.
Yeah.
And to learn from him has been a real honor. And I thought it was going to be like a cool little thing I was going to do for him, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And shooting is really interesting because, in our country, it's either like, everyone and every baby should have a gun, or no one should have guns. There's like no healthy,
Yeah.
common sense middle ground, at least in the public discourse. And you take someone like myself, who's from California, who moves here and falls in love with shooting, and starts to understand like why people love this so much, and what makes it actually important. Like now, I don't want to live in a state where I can't have my guns. I love having my guns. I love the feeling you have that no matter what happens, as the fan, you're fine. Your family's fine. Your loved ones are fine. Like it's a very empowering feeling. It's also very American. America was built on, the frontier, go out,
Yeah.
go west, young man. And I absolutely love it. It's meditative. Like when you're shooting, you have to be in the moment. It's a very dangerous as far as activity to take on, especially the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah.
Because we are running and gunning. We're shooting at each other. We're doing all this like really high caliber stuff that he's got me to that level. And so you have to be completely present, completely in the moment. It's so meditative. And then you get the dopamine hits and the serotonin hits because you get immediate feedback. You know exactly where the round went. Did you hit your target or not? Where did you hit your target? Did you get the time right? Did you screw up? Did you get a jam? Were you able to clear and get back on target? You get the immediate feedback. And you're also growing because you get better and better and better. And you start like, there's no like, oh, now I'm good enough, because there's the next thing. Okay, I'm going to go learn how to clear buildings. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I want to take a sniper course. It's like, it's a martial art.
Yeah.
It really is like, old Kung Fu. You take on the different weapons and the different styles. And that's really what it is. And I've literally fallen in love with it. And I do it. I have zero desire to use it against anyone.
Right.
Let's be honest, right? I do it, and it's become a very, I didn't expect it, like a personal improvement journey. Like the level of confidence has given me as a man, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And I'm not someone who used to lack for confidence, right? But I went through some severe stuff. I went through some severe physical trauma in 2019, lost about 2 years of my life. And when you're in severe pain, anyone who's been in severe pain will tell you, it just wears you down. Every day, and that just wears you down.
Right.
And I didn't realize until I started doing it just how much it had worn down my confidence, my sense of self as a man. And doing this rebuilt it in a really beautiful way.
Nice.
And I find this has helped me in business and life, where you just kind of like, you understand that, look, I am powerful. If I wish to be, I'm dangerous. And you know that by yourself, and it actually makes you very calm and peaceful. Like the deadliest warriors, always like the ones that I've met, always the most calm, peaceful, chill, happy guys you'll meet.
Yeah.
Because you just have this knowing. I highly recommend it. Any martial art, anything. For me, I fell into this.
That's cool, man.
So I don't even think of it as personal defense. I think of it as just like personal improvement using this art.
I think it caught my eye because I've had on a lot of spiritual people, and most of them don't do any sorts of violence. You know what I mean? So when I saw that on your feed, first thing, I was like, that is interesting. I need to ask about that.
Well, look, I mean, so much is Zen Buddhism. If you look at Buddhism back in the day, and the monks, where did Kung Fu come from? You know, the monks came up with it. Like I think Wing Chun is from like, at least the story goes, it's from like a Buddhist nun. It's like learn how to fight, and so Wing Chun is good for like smaller, close quarter combat.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing of being spiritual. Like it's just I'm being human. I don't even know if this is spiritual or not, but I'll tell you what, this has made me a better human and made me more calm, more centered, even more at peace, knowing that I have this skill.
Yeah, that's cool. And you mentioned a physical battle for 2 years, physical trauma. What was that about?
I had 2019, I had a botched surgery where I basically almost died really horribly.
Wow.
And multiple surgeries later, 2 years later, just extreme pain. And then I finally surgery to fix everything in late 2021. I got my health back. And my God, let me tell you, you start to appreciate life. And all of a sudden, like when you're in pain for so long, you basically learn how to put on a game face. The world sees you certain because you're just keeping it. Like the world does not benefit from you just sharing your pain all the time. Right. So and I'm that way. So you just learn to put on game face, get through it day in, day out. And I'm someone who really works on his mind. I really do believe everything starts from here. So it made me really dig in deep and continue to work on my mind, the stuff that I write about, right? The inner game. And what was interesting was because I had to work so hard to get through what I was going through that when I get out of it and was no longer in pain, it was like, oh my God, now without the pain, the way my mind was running, it was amazing. But man, those 2 years sucked.
Wow. So
they really sucked.
So it was a botched surgery. What was the original surgery about?
Just details. Now there's a lawsuit because it turned out there was all sorts of, excuse my language, going on. So there's not, I don't know if I can talk much about it right now, but I will after it's over.
Dude, that is crazy. And how were you able to treat it after the 2 years?
There wasn't any way. I thought that was going to be my life.
Wow.
And, that's pretty depressing when you're a guy who's just used to doing stuff. My entire life, I've always done some pretty crazy and outrageous things, but that's what made me who I am. And then you're almost like hobbled from living the kind of life that you can live. It's very, very hard.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
Yeah, it sucked. And I'm glad to be on the other side.
Yeah, not feeling like you had control is a terrible feeling.
It's awful because, it's like, it's one thing losing your health, right? It's another thing losing your health with no fault of your own. That's, it's like, but look, it's like, who was that? Rabbi Kushner, he wrote this book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. It's an incredible title. And I remember, I came across it years ago. I don't remember the content, but I remember being very thoughtful. And it's like, when you go through something like this, when you go through any trauma, hardship in life, you're bound to think, why me? It's the human thing. Why me?
Yeah.
Or like for me, I was like, man, I didn't deserve this. I'm a good man. I've done real good in the world. I didn't deserve this. You kind of get stuck in that. But eventually got to get out of it. It's like, well, okay, it is what it is. What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And all you can do is get up and work on yourself. Get up, work on yourself. It's not easy. There were times where, I wanted to give up and check out, right? It was, because if that's life, I have a whole new appreciation for people who are in pain, and I sometimes wonder about them when I meet people and because you get crankier. You get like a friend of mine, we were talking the other day, he just had a ski accident.
Wow.
And he's like actually texted me earlier. He's at an orthopedic surgeon right now getting his shoulder looked at. He's like, man, I have to talk to someone. I think you're the only one to understand. He's like, I'm really cranky. People have been telling me like, you're not yourself. He's like, yeah, when you're in pain and you're just fighting pain, like it's like that part of your mind that's more, less things slide by, is too busy occupied with that. So you're like have a shorter fuse. And so I sometimes wonder when I'll see someone or I'm somewhere and someone's like not very polite to me, and I ask myself, I wonder what pain they're in. And that literally immediately like drops whatever my internal drama about how they were was.
That's deep.
Right?
That's so true, because I'm thinking of people that have dealt with severe pain or severe inflammation, and it's hard for them to be happy.
It's because a part of your brain nonstop is working on just dealing with that. So then you have your tolerance is much, much lower for anything. Right. And it doesn't have to be physical pain. Think of emotional pain. Emotional pain sometimes, it's even harder, right?
Yeah.
It can be, right?
We're going to get into that. You got
pain is pain, man. Like, I never discount anyone's pain.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the scenery differs, but the human mind is the human mind. The human heart is the human heart, right? And so I have a lot more empathy for people now, in the sense that I just ask myself that question when I see someone who's not being how I wish they were to me.
You know what? That's a good question to ask, because when someone gives me attitude, I never think about where it's coming from.
Yeah, I just ask myself, I wonder what pain they're, what pain they're dealing with, what pain they're in. Immediately, you can't help but feel, it takes away that anger, like, hey, you should treat me better or whatever. It's just like, oh, it's their thing.
Yeah.
And that's literally the secret of dealing with anyone in life. It's their thing. I'm going to be me. It's their thing, and you kind of don't they're carrying their own burden. Why should I actually add to my burden from their burden by reacting to that? So I don't carry their burden. I don't add their burden to mine then.
That's powerful. People need to hear that, because they get very combative, I think.
Right? And all you're doing is taking that person's rock and taking a piece of it and adding into your pile of rocks.
Yeah.
Why?
So you're very good at just mitigating stress.
Well, I don't sit around and try to do it that way. What I've come to is like ways just to how to be inside. And like my books, they come from that, how to be inside. And so all of this just comes from how do I want to react to the world outside, especially when it's great when everyone loves you, everyone's like singing your praises or whatever, everyone's giving la vida loca. When people are not, is when the work, you got to do the work, because just like when I was in pain, I was doing the work. When you're no longer in pain, when you're no longer in that situation, things are running so smooth. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I will never say I needed to go through what I went through. I didn't. I don't wish that on anyone. But what I did to myself and my inner self going through has made me so much better. And that is the only choice we have in life anyway.
Right? So that being said, do you think everything happens for a reason?
I don't buy that.
Okay.
I know a lot of people do. A lot of people say that. I've been through enough in life that I know what I do believe is that as within, so without. You'll find that in all the mystics. You'll find that in basically all the religions, as within, so without. Is there a grand plan or reason for it? Was this all written? Is there no free will? I mean, like, look, that's above my pay grade, honestly. Yeah. But I just think when people say, oh, there's a reason why you went through a really 2 years. Well, that's a reason. I could have learned that lesson way better ways.
That's an optimistic point of view.
You know what? Like, there's way better ways. There's way more fun ways for me to learn these lessons.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't buy that. But what I do buy is, regardless of what happens, forget the reason. It's the choice. And the choice is, who am I going to be through this? That's the only choice we got. And look, we're human. And there are days where I didn't want the choice. And I was and I was a victim and feeling sorry for myself and miserable. There were many days of it, right? But then there were days where I was like, okay, well, I hate feeling this way. And what is my choice? I'm just going to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
Why? Not for anybody else, but just for me, because I deserve to feel better. I need to feel better. It's very selfish, but it's actually beautiful, because when you're that way, like, you don't take your rock and put it in other people.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not like, you're actually better to the world when you lessen your own weight.
I like that. And a lot of people see selfishness as a bad thing.
See what is a bad thing?
They see selfishness, being selfish, sort of in a bad light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I used to be that, and I've learned, like, look, I'm the guy who wrote the book on loving yourself, right? And I've learned that a level of selfishness is needed when you love yourself. For example, saying no. I've gotten really good at saying no to people. People I love dearly, I would do anything for. But like, if it doesn't feel right to me, I just say no. And I'm very honest. I say from a place of love. I'm like, this is why. And they can accept it or not, but it's coming from a place of love, right? And yes, that is selfish, but that's being real. That's being honest. And you know what? Like, people appreciate it more, and the ones who don't self-select themselves out of your life.
Wow.
Which is a beautiful gift. So I don't think of being as selfish. I think it was being real. I think a lot of times, we're conditioned by society, be the good kid, be the nice guy, be this, be that. But what you're doing is you're tamping down honesty by trying to be the nice of this. That's just ego through the back door, building that personality, the nice guy, or always the bendo or whatever. That's another form of ego. I think the best thing we can do is just be real from a loving place, or from an honest place, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I think if that's selfish, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it's healthy selfish.
I like that. And yeah, speaking of your book about how to love yourself, how do people watching this know if they actually love themselves?
Honestly, I don't think most people do. I mean, look, I didn't. And I'm not someone who set out to be the love yourself guy. I used to laugh at that kind of stuff. I swear to you, man, I am not that guy.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why my work does so well, is because I write from my experience from a guy who was never wanted to be that guy. And I still don't. I'm just a human being who works really hard himself and shares what he's learned, right? So, I mean, loving yourself, one of the things is, are you really honest with your decisions, with your choices with others, to yourself? Do they serve you? If there's a very simple question I like to ask myself when I'm faced with choices. If I love myself, and the if part's really important. If I love myself truly and deeply, what would I do? Two choices, fork in the road. If I love myself, which choice would I make? So just ask yourself, are you making the choices that if the if is great, because the brain likes to say but if you say, what would I do because I love myself? Your brain will say, well, you don't, or whatever. The brain will come back, right, and say these things. But the if confuses the mind, because the if is an open-ended question. It's theory. If I love myself, what would I do? And so if you ask yourself that question, choices you're making, and the answer is you are doing the things that if you love yourself, then you are.
Wow.
It's a very simple question, and it's a very that question alone, making a habit of asking yourself that in choices, will transform your life.
Wow. I can't wait to start implementing that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And it changed my life. Just starting to ask myself that question.
Yeah. Are you big on stuff like that? Mantras, affirmations?
Well, the whole concept of mantras, affirmations, what I ended up doing was, when I started doing the inner work of myself, I started telling myself things, and I realized, so that is affirmations, right? I never looked at it that way. All I was doing was I was just creating mental loops within myself, because our brain's always running loops. You could sit there quiet, but your mind's not quiet. It's just flashes of memories, sounds, thoughts, insights, or a lot of drama, right? And it's just like running an autopilot. And if you just really watch it for a while, you'll see the same patterns, the same themes. It's not even original. There's not much original happening in there, right? So what I decided to do when I made this vow to love myself in a hard place, was I started working on creating a new loop that was going to override everything, that I was just going to focus on with feeling, with emotion, with gratitude, with light coming in. Just started doing it. And what I found to that was to be very, very transformative, because you start running that loop consciously, and it's very uncomfortable in the beginning, because anything, especially for the mind, anything that goes against our normal sense of self is very uncomfortable.
Right.
And as you know, like doing anything like starting a podcast or whatever, you got to go through the fear and do it again and again until you're comfortable. No one starts a podcast day one being comfortable, being a great interviewer. It doesn't happen. Yeah. Same thing with the mind. And so running this loop, so I guess you would call it an affirmation, but it's not just rote again and again, like, I love myself. oh, myself, no. Like really make myself feel it, whether I believed it or not. And that's really important because eventually it's just your mind and they'll start believing the show it's running. And what I found over time was my patterns of my mind changed. They started to come from that place of loving myself. So, and also like when I would see the patterns, and I still do, I'm a very, very much a human being. I have a very healthy ego, right? I catch them because I'm like, this doesn't feel good. And I go back to what feels good. And it's all the inner game because look, we're born, we live this whole show, and then we die. But as someone who's almost died in a, with like hospital staff running around screaming and yelling and realizing just how lonely it can be, that moment, right? It's a journey of one, n equals one. We may have all the people around us, but in the end, we're in our head.
Right.
So that is the one place if you improve it.
Yeah.
And so to your question, the affirmations, I think if we do them with like consistently, with feeling, with belief, whether you believe it or not, making yourself believe it, eventually they start to run the show. So they do work. I mean, they've existed through different cultures or whatever through history for a reason.
That is cool. So you found a way to almost control your subconscious thoughts.
Yeah, because I was layering in the new pattern, and you don't just think a thing once. It's like you didn't go to the gym once and say, all right, I'm done, dude. I'm like fucking gonna go Mr. Olympia. Yeah. No, you go day in, day out, day in, day out. Same thing with the mind. And the mind is trickier than the body. The mind is more elastic. The mind bounces back to old patterns. We're not even used to actually trying to. We just think the mind's us. We're not used to actually looking at our minds. Actually, no, that's just these patterns running, and I'm going to take charge of the patterns.
Yeah.
And I'm going to decide what the patterns are going to be, and I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to decide who I'm going to be. I was never taught that. I had to figure it out. Man, I wish if I'd been taught that younger, man, holy the trajectory of my life would have been like none of this rocky stuff. It just would have been like this.
I don't think schools want people knowing that information, honestly.
I don't think the people teaching know that information, right?
That's true too.
No, I found that when you find this kind of information, it transforms your life. Like, I can see that from you. It's like you want to share it. Whatever you learn that makes you successful inside out, whatever. It's like fun to share it.
Yeah.
So I think the more people start to do this, the more they actually share with others. Because people will say, hey, it's like if you go to the gym every day or you get a personal trainer, a great personal trainer, and they see you 6 months later and you're like jacked, they will say, hey, what have you been doing? I want to do it. Same thing with the mind. They'll be like, hey, you seem very different. You seem calmer. You seem happier. You seem this, that. What are you doing? And then you pass it on. And some will do it, some won't. And they improve and they pass it on and so forth.
Absolutely.
That's what I think this modern, not media, but this modern, writing books, podcasts, all this is part of that, sharing.
Yeah, it feels great, honestly.
Being
able to, and you get instant feedback too, which is cool because you can see the comments, you can see the messages. You're really changing my life, and it feels amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to replicate this in ancient times, honestly, because I can't think of any methods that could do what we're doing these days.
There weren't. I mean, forget ancient times. Go back a decade or two ago. You had to be chosen to show up on Good Morning America or do this or do that, do the sound bites. It was all sound bites. And where was long form was like what Charlie Rose and Larry King, but you had to be a celebrity.
Yep.
Right. You couldn't be like these days. Look at how modern celebrities come from. Like David Goggins, former Navy SEAL, dude, like crazy, incredible dude who just runs nonstop. Right.
Yeah.
But look at the lives he's changed. Look at Jocko. Look at like Rogan. Look at all these like modern day celebrities, and they never would have passed any of the tests in the past. And we're talking our lifetimes. We're not, pre-podcast, not even pre-internet. Let's go to pre-podcast, right? Social media, Twitter, whatever, maybe some, but this level of people get to learn from you, know who you are, did not exist.
No.
Right? And so this is like incredible time. It's a little crazy because it's very noisy and it's dramatic. There's so much.
There's drama, yeah.
Social media is, at this point is a reflection of the human mind. It's so much drama.
Yeah.
And it's addictive, and the algorithms are designed to take your attention. The algorithms are not designed to improve your life or your mind.
And I used to watch all those drama videos,
Uh-huh.
and I had to stop because it was affecting me.
It does. How can it not? Like, I get sucked into that stuff sometimes, and I literally will take breaks and I will delete all social media apps from my phone. And then if I want to use it, I have to go on my computer.
Wow.
That little shift alone actually makes a big difference. Just, I got to go open my computer or go on there, because then you think about it.
That's
right?
true.
But in that, all that drama and noise is a lot of honesty and truth, and people who never could have shown to the world, outside of their immediate small circle of community, are now shining to the world. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
It's cool to see, because you no longer have to be a good-looking person to be famous. Before, it's just the elites and
Yeah, you
Hollywood
had to be chosen.
actors.
You had to be chosen, and you had to have the sound bites, and you had to be have your agents and your managers and your PR.
Yeah.
The celebrities were chosen. These days, you can create your own celebrity.
Absolutely.
You can be your own quote unquote celebrity.
And you could be yourself. Before, celebrities were just
yeah,
actors.
yeah.
You didn't even actually know the person. You know what I mean?
I think honestly, that's one of, for example, Rogan's appeal. He's himself.
Yeah.
He's very, very uncompromisingly himself, and that's refreshing. Where do you find that? Say, in traditional media, it's very, very. You find that here and there, but it's very hard.
Just Tucker Carlson, honestly. I can't think of many people.
Yeah, there's not. It's like, here's the interesting thing, right? The people who are, they do shine, but for some reason, using that as a model, it's actually not used as the model. Also, they're harder to control.
Yeah.
Right.
That's something I think about a lot, because now I have sponsors approaching me and stuff, but I want to maintain control. I don't want to be influenced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want them telling me who I can have on, what I can say and stuff. I want to just be able to speak freely.
Something I've learned, and actually is you just say no. You just say no, that's not for me, and the right ones, that opens up the space for the right ones.
Yeah.
I've really learned that. And that's if I love myself truly and deeply, what choice would I make, right? And you would not silence yourself. And you know that already, right?
Yeah.
You would never compromise yourself. Chappelle has a great bit on that, why he left, disappeared from comedy, and I think you've read Iceberg Slim's Pimp, like a section from that, that talk about that's the game, that's the Hollywood game. It's brilliant. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I got to watch that.
It's,
he escaped their grasp.
Yeah, but I think it's one of his shows from the last series, especially did 2017, 2018. And he reads, and this is a classic in American literature, Pimp. It's Iceberg Slim was an actual pimp, like a full-on pimp, who wrote his story. And it's brilliant writing. He wrote it like his voice, which is why it's uncompromising. Trust me, none of us want to be that guy. I want his life. But it's brilliant though, and he just reads a section from it. And this is in a comedy act. This is at the end of a comedy act, and he's reading it for 5-10 minutes, and you're spellbound. And he just explains to you how that whole game is.
Wow,
it's incredible.
That's cool.
It's incredible.
Man, I could talk to you for hours. We'll end it on this, because I saw you on a podcast talking about seeing a sex switch.
A what?
And a sex switch.
What's
sexual
that?
energy.
A sex switch? Where did I say?
Oh, I forget which show it was, but you were talking about sexual energies.
I was?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the question? I'm curious.
Well, I saw on your website also you talked about meeting a few women or something.
I've met quite a few women in my life. So it
was in the paragraph, but your thoughts on relationships, right now, are you in one? And how has that evolved as you've gotten older?
That's a great question. I used to be Mr. Monogamy, always looking for the one, right? Falling in love and having kids and all that. And I've had a few great relationships like that, but they never worked out. And, actually, when I was in the hospital room, here's a very interesting thing. When you're in a hospital room, and hospital rooms are the places in the world. They really are. You have no privacy. No matter how rich or famous or powerful you are, you ring that gown with those needles all in you. But you have no, forget your people are coming, poking and prodding you, lifting up. You have like you know you have no all the sense of self is just taken away from you, right? Whether for good or bad. And then also the doctors are telling you really stuff, right? And you have some very honest conversations with yourself. You have the most honest conversations with yourself in those moments, or foxholes or whatever, when it's just like you have no choice. And one of my things was like, look, Kamal, you've had this long and illustrious history of, of looking for the one, of falling in love, and then it not working out and being heartbroken, and then, getting up again and going and falling in love. Where did that get you? And the answer was, in a hospital room, all by myself, alone, almost dead. I was like, well, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. So what I did was, I dropped the desire. And it's actually a very Buddhist thing, but I didn't realize at the time I was doing. I dropped the desire because the suffering comes from attachment to desire. It doesn't come from desire. It comes from attachment to desire, and when you don't have it, we suffer. All that drama, like I want this, I don't have it, so I suffer, right? So I dropped it. And what I did was, I'm just going to open myself up to life. Whatever it wants for me, whatever I draw to me when it comes to relationships, I'm just going to open myself up. And that's what I did. And honestly, when it comes to relationships, I'm a single guy. I date. I have fun. And it's been great. It's been absolutely great. What comes, it'll lead to, one of those will, something will eventually lead to something, but I'm no longer looking for it.
Yeah.
And you know what's really funny? When you're no longer looking for it, when it just all
starts coming.
You,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
It's the grand secret to life. Drop the attachment to the desire.
Yeah.
And be free.
Yeah.
And then just be, and be you, day in, day out. Choose, who do I want to be today, and be that. And man, life's so much better that way.
I like that. There's an interesting debate on social media. As men, we're programmed to spread our seed, right? And we're not built to be monogamous.
Correct.
Do you agree with that take?
That's just evolution.
Yeah.
We are. You just look at the male, just how we're designed, including how we think. Yeah. That is evolution. Though I don't think, the whole family unit existed because we had to grow as societies. You needed stability. Modern day, I don't know. I don't know what's ahead for the future. It's for the next generation to figure out.
It's tough. And with divorce rates at over 50%, it's scary.
That doesn't count in. And I'm someone who's lived long enough, was very deep friendships with people. And I'm someone people tell everything to. You realize, and in those 50% or 50%, less than 50% that are still married, let's go down to happily married. That actually cuts down a lot. It's like people living quiet lives of quiet desperation because this is a life they've chosen.
Right.
I think, but I know people with some incredible relationships, but honestly, it's like rare and rare. It has to, like anything, it requires full-on commitment. You really have to make it the number one priority. If you're not going to do it, don't do it.
Wow. So number one over everything.
That's what I've seen with the ones who've made it work. And none of them ever said it was easy. They all say, oh, it was hard, but it was worth it. It's like they say with kids. It was hard, but it was worth it, right? You can't half-ass a relationship. If you wanted to stand the test of time and you want to be happy and fulfilled and grow in it, you can't half-ass it. You can't half-ass anything you want to be great at.
It's true.
Think about that, right? So if you want to have a great relationship, you can't half-ass it. But yeah, as far as how we're wired, it's biologically we're wired different. We are wired to run around and be boys.
Boys be boys.
Boys be boys. Yeah.
All right, Kamal, that was fun. Where can people find you and anything you're trying to promote?
You can find me in the usual socials. Instagram, Twitter, AirChat. Anything I'm trying to promote. Look, my book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. It's changed a lot of lives. It's saved a lot of lives. I'm kind of like a marketer, but I'd say if you're gonna do something for that social media, go buy that book. You'll be better for it. And by the way, HarperCollins thanks you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put it in the description. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon everywhere.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow.